What happens in Texas could have a huge sweeping impact on the balance of power here in Washington. The GOP proposed maps could eliminate 5 Democratic seats in Texas alone, and in doing so, provide Republicans with a wider margin to pass President Donald Trump's agenda following next year's midterm elections. Joining us now to discuss this and more, the House Democratic leader, Hakeem Jeffries of New York. Leader Jeffries, thanks so much for joining us. I know you recently traveled to Austin, Texas, to meet with the Democratic lawmakers there about this redistricting proposal. We've seen Texas Democrats try to use these quorum breaks before, only for them to fail, like back in 2003 and then in 2021. How will this time be any different?
Well, in the 2021 quorum break, actually, I would argue that Texas Democrats were successful in forcing Republicans to walk away from some of the more extreme parts of the voter suppression law that were being contemplated at the time. They still moved forward with their efforts to try to suppress the possibility of a free and fair election in Texas. This is what they do, but the Texas Democrats were successful in reducing the extreme nature of what was being proposed. But this moment does require, an extraordinary response, because this is an extraordinary act that Republicans have been ordered to undertake to try to gerrymander the Texas congressional map as part of an effort to rig the midterm elections. Wolf, that's what this is all about, because Donald Trump, House Republicans, and the Texas Republican Party, they're all running scared because they have failed the American people.
The Texas governor, as you know, Leader Jeffries, we're talking about Greg Abbott. He's threatened to remove Texas House Democrats who actually left the state from their positions because it, quote, amounts to an abandonment, he says, or forfeiture of elected state office. Governor Abbott also says Texas Democrats may have violated what he calls bribery laws. How do you respond to all of this?
The Republican governor of Texas is out of his mind. There is no basis to charge these House Texas Democrats who have refused righteously to, at the moment, vote on an extraordinary map that would hurt their constituents that they are privileged and sworn to represent right now. Governor Abbott is making idle threats. He is all hat, no cattle.
As you know, Leader Jeffries, these Texas Democrats they've traveled to several Democratic-controlled states, including your state of New York. That's where Governor Kathy Hochul only moments ago said she's exploring, quote, and I'm quoting her now, every option to redraw our state congressional lines as soon as possible. And listen to what she exactly said. Listen to this.
I'm tired of fighting this fight with my hand tied behind my back. With all due respect to the good government groups, politics is a political process. And to think that we're going to do this with a purity test, but I cannot ignore that the playing field has changed dramatically. And shame on us if we ignore that fact and cling tight to the vestiges of the past. That era is over. Donald Trump eliminated that forever.
And as you know, Leader Jeffries, more Republican states are now looking at potentially engaging in this redistricting as well. Do you worry this could be a never-ending cycle of redistricting across the entire country?
First of all, Wolf, we appreciate the strong leadership being shown by Governor Kathy Hochul, Governor Gavin Newsom, Governor J.B. Pritzker, and governors all across the country. Because this is an unprecedented moment that America and the world find ourselves in at this particular period of time. Donald Trump and the Republican Party have launched an all-out, unprecedented assault on the economy, on health care, on veterans, on farmers, on everyday Americans, on the rule of law, on law-abiding immigrant families, and of course on democracy itself. It's an all-hands-on-deck moment for us. That means House Democrats, Senate Democrats, Democratic governors, Democratic members of the state legislature, Democratic attorney generals, but most importantly, the American people. All of us need to show up and stand up and speak up for an America actually that is enlightened and inclusive and lifts people up, as opposed to the America that we're in right now, where Donald Trump and Republicans are determined to tear people down.
When you were in Austin, Texas, Leader Jeffries, last week, you argued that Texas Republicans, in your words, at the urging of President Donald Trump, were trying to rig elections by allowing politicians to choose their own voters through this redistricting proposal. What do you say to the argument that Democrats would be guilty of the same charge if they gerrymandered in so-called blue states, Democratic-led states?
What Democrats would be doing in response is to make sure that there is one fair national map, so that the people of this country will have the opportunity to make a decision in November of next year in deciding who should actually serve in the majority in the United States House of Representatives. We think that Republicans are scared to death that they are on the brink of losing the House of Representatives. This one big ugly bill that they passed into law rips away health care from the American people, steals food from the mouths of children, hurts everyday Americans in order to reward their billionaire donors with massive tax breaks, and they've broken their fundamental promise to lower the high cost of living. Costs aren't going down in America, costs are going up. Job creation is going down and unemployment is going up as Donald Trump and Republicans are crashing the economy in real time. We're not afraid as Democrats to make our case to the American people that we will lower the high cost of living. We will fix our broken healthcare system. We will clean up corruption so we can deliver a government that actually works for the American people and is not a government of the billionaires, by the billionaires, and for the billionaires. We're prepared to take that case directly to the American people. Republicans are trying to rig the congressional maps because they don't want to have this fight on the merits.
While I have you, Leader Jeffries, I want to turn to another important subject. Your counterpart in the U.S. Senate, Chuck Schumer, a man you know well, earlier this morning, he called for the firing of the White House National Economic Council Director, Kevin Hassett, after Hassett defended President Donald Trump's decision to axe the head of the Bureau of Labor Statistics following the other day's very disappointing jobs report. Do you think Hassett should be fired?
I don't think Hassett is qualified to be part of this administration, but that in fact is the case as it relates to so many members of the Trump administration. This is the most unqualified administration in American history, which is why the whole thing is a disaster. They failed to make life better for the American people. In fact, they're making life worse, making life more expensive. These Trump tariffs, these Republican-backed tariffs, are increasing costs on everyday Americans by thousands of dollars per year. And now you see the job market collapsing in the country, Trump continuing to destabilize our economic system, and they're driving us toward a recession. All of them are unqualified to be serving the American people right now.
On another sensitive issue, while I have you, Congressman, on the war between Israel and Hamas and the worsening crisis unfolding in Gaza right now, your Democratic colleague, Congressman Ro Khanna of California, is now circulating a letter urging the White House to recognize a Palestinian state. Are you open to signing on to that?
I haven't seen the letter or talked to Ro, but here's what I'll say about the situation. The humanitarian crisis right now is unconscionable, and we've got to surge humanitarian aid and food into Gaza to prevent starvation from children and innocent civilians who have been suffering in this war zone. At the same period of time, we've got to make sure that we can get every single hostage out and returned to their families in Israel, and we need to restore the ceasefire that Donald Trump inherited from Joe Biden, but has allowed to be broken so that we can establish a permanent path toward a just and lasting peace between Israel and the Palestinian people. And the only way to actually achieve that with some permanence is to make sure that there's a two-state solution. A safe and secure Israel living side by side with a Palestinian state that allows the Palestinian people to pursue and experience dignity, prosperity, and self-determination.
So I hear you saying basically, correct me if I'm wrong, Leader Jeffries, that you would support a U.S. decision to support a new independent Palestinian state.
What I support is a two-state solution that has to be negotiated by all parties. But what we have to do right now is to make sure the ceasefire is restored, that humanitarian assistance is surged and sustained into Gaza. There's an ongoing crisis right now. That has to be dealt with, and of course we have to get the hostages returned. But we all have to commit ourselves to a legitimate, robust, authentic process of bringing a just and lasting peace to the region. And the only way to achieve that, in my view, is a two-state solution. Israel and a Palestinian state, that has to be negotiated. United States leadership will be required in order to bring that about.